Greetings everyone and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to take a look at the 10 worst ships in the C-Store. This is a little bit different than my top 10 ships in the C-Store video, as I don't own all these, so I can't do the nice cinematic footage for all of them, and I thought we'd just keep this a little bit more casual and lighthearted. If you watched my latest live stream, my viewers and I helped go through the C-Store and find some of the real clunkers here, but this list is by no means definitive. If you think you know any ship in the C-Store that's worse than one of these, feel free to let me know in the comments section. I am restricting this to only ships you can get for 3,000 Zen or with a tier 6 ship coupon, so no legendary ships or bundle exclusive ships or anything like that are going to be eligible. I had some general criteria in mind. For example, I don't think anything with a lieutenant commander command seat or better could possibly be one of the 10 worst ships. Same with the temporal seating, and also I didn't really think any science ship could be that bad because secondary deflectors are just so good, but we did find one really bad science vessel, so keep an eye out for that one. So without further ado, let's get to the first item on the list. It's actually really two ships, but I'll let you be the judge of that. We've got the Guardian Cruiser and the Mir Guardian Cruiser. They're both bad in exactly the same way. They're very similar to each other. Both of them are cruisers with a vanilla plain Jane commander engineering seat, which isn't that good. The regular Guardian Cruiser, the only specialization seating is a Lieutenant Intel, where the Mir Guardian Cruiser has only a Lieutenant Command. Both of them are pretty bad, so, just take your pick for this one. Next up, we have the Advanced Light Battle Cruisers, and I'm going to go ahead and show a non-Federation ship for this one, the Quehupa class Advanced Light Battle Cruiser. The issue with this is that, well, it is a cruiser, so it has a Commander Engineering seat, just a plain one, and the specialization seat is a Lieutenant Commander Pilot. Of course, the image is not uploading here. One thing I will say for these ships and their faction variants, and you can assume for all of these that their faction variants should be included in the ship itself, is that it is a really cool looking ship. I really do like the way this particular ship looks. Not enough to save it from being on the list though. Next up, we have one of the first Jem'Hadar ships on the list. Unfortunately, there are multiple ones. The Jem'Hadar Vanguard Carrier. What is the problem with this ship? Well, the thing is, it's a science carrier, and those in general are just really bad, so expect to see everyone's favorite science carrier from the C-Store later on in the list. You all know it's coming, but right now we're talking about this bad boy. Really cool looking ship, really fun to fly, cool pets, cool console, has the detachable craft and all that, but it only has 6 weapon slots. It has a commander science seat, but no secondary deflector. The specialization seating is Intel, which is okay, but not enough to save it from being on this list. Next up, we have the Alita wait a minute, I made that joke in the review video. The Alita Strike Wing Escort, or for all of you old school guys, the Alita Heavy Escort Carrier. It does have a Commander Tactical, but it has terrible weapon seating with only a 4-3, and the specialization seating is a pilot seat, which interferes with your other seating. It has a Lieutenant Commander Engineering, which is not that great, and overall, even though it does have a hangar bay, it's just not a very good ship. So it is going to end up on the list. A lot of ships with pilot seating were considerations for this, unfortunately, because pilot seating just is the worst of the bunch. Next up, we have the Valiant. And here's the issue. This ship has one of the best traits in the game, but as someone in my live stream pointed out, and the reason I'm including it along with the core and the other versions, is that you can get this trait for free with the Klingon Recruit, which they are running every year now. So as long as you wait until you can get a Klingon Recruit, you can get this trait for free, which kind of negates the value of the ship a little bit. To be honest, most of the Defiant variants kind of suck. This one is no exception. The Legendary one is okay, and the Adamant is probably the best one we've seen, but the regular tier 6 one, the Valiant here, comes from a really great episode of DS9, but it's just not a very good ship, as it has pilot seating and it's just not that strong. So unfortunately, with a 4-3 weapon layout to boot, it ended up on the list. Next up, we have a ship that actually has a really great console, but the ship itself is not that good. That's the Shran Pilot Light Escort, and the issue here is that it is a pilot ship. It used to be my top choice for a pilot ship that you could get a full pilot ship, but that's all because there really weren't very many choices, and pilot's not very good anyway. As soon as the Nova came out, this one pretty much lost any advantage that it had. I will say, however, that the graviton displacer that this comes with is very good for specific builds, so it's probably one of the best purchases on the list, if I could put it that way. But unlike my top 10 list, that alone is not going to save it. The ship itself does kind of suck, so it is ending up on the list. Next up, we have our second Jem'Hadar entry, and that is the Jem'Hadar Vanguard Raider. And what is the issue with this particular ship? It's just not very good. It has a 4-2 weapon layout. It does have an experimental weapon, but the specialization seating is pilot seating, which again is a theme here, is just not very good. It was one of the last ships I unlocked as an account unlock. I actually went over a year without even bothering to get this as an account unlock for the rest of my characters, because I just couldn't bother getting the tier 6 mastery on a Jem'Hadar character for a ship I had no interest in flying. It's a neat looking ship, but it's just not very good. So I feel bad that 2 of the big Vanguard pack Jem'Hadar ships are on the list, but they're just not the good ones. The other ones are pretty good though. Next up, we have the Dauntless, which is the only science vessel to make the list, and it comes from a really neat episode of Star Trek Voyager. But the problem is, as far as science vessels go, the bridge officer seating is a giant mess. It just doesn't have enough science and or specialization seating to really make it worthwhile. The only specialization seating, which is an intel seat, also overlaps with one of the science seats, which means you're going to get at most 6 science or specialization seats on this ship, and for a science vessel that is horrendous, especially given the direction that science builds have gone. So this is probably one of the worst science ships in the C-Store, and as a result it is making the list, but it does have a secondary deflector, so it's not that bad. Next up, we have a ship that I think everyone could expect would be on this list, and it's probably the #1 ship. If I were to put this in some kind of an order, this would be the worst ship. I do believe it is the worst ship in the C-Store, and that is the Jupiter class carrier. This thing is awful. Whatever redeeming value the Jem'Hadar Vanguard carrier has, this one doesn't even have that. The pets are terrible. The seating, terrible. The weapon layout is terrible. It doesn't even have a 4-2, and the intel seat that it has is basically worthless. The trait sucks. The console's okay, but it's restricted to this ship. Overall, it's just terrible. Commander science seat, but no secondary deflector. Run away. Run far away. Play it if you want to have fun, but certainly don't use it if you're looking for anything good. And to round out the list, we have the Da Vinci Miracle Worker Escort. If you saw my video for this, I put a frowny emoji in the thumbnail. This ship sucks. Yes, it does have a full Commander Miracle Worker seat, but otherwise it's pretty terrible. For a ship that came out this late in the game's life cycle, to have a 4-3 weapon layout is embarrassing. It also has a worse console layout than its tier 5 counterpart, and overall it's just a very unimpressive ship. You can do far better for Miracle Worker, and just as an escort goes, it reminds you of something that would have come out like 7 years ago. It's not a very good ship. Does kind of look like a Nintendo 64 controller, but unfortunately this list is not a list of which ships are redeemed by what kind of controllers they look like, so it is going to make the cut. Anyway, let me know what you think. Did I get it completely wrong? Are some of these ships your favorites? What do you think the worst ships in the C-Store are? I'm curious to find out. If you want to see more of my content in the future, hit that subscribe button. Special thank you to all my channel members. I'll see you guys next time. Bye for now.